All right. Hi to everybody who wrote us in the chat. Welcome to our webinar. We're going to start right now. Welcome to Using Humanoid Social Robots webinar. We have here Bonnie Walker and Erica Pratt from Fundologic, and also your K-12 account manager, Amy George from Robot Lab. We are very excited to have you here. Thank you so much. And Amy, let's just start with it.
All right, thanks for joining us. Just a quick agenda. We're just going to be talking quickly about Robot Lab. I'll be introducing the speakers. We'll talk about some areas of expertise, and then I'll pass it along to our partners at Fundologic. My name is Amy George. I'm the account manager with Robot Lab for the K-12 schools within US and around the world. I also have Bonnie Walker, who's the owner of Fundologic, and the educational director, Erica Pratt. Robot Lab in a nutshell, we have been around since 2011. Our headquarters are in San Francisco. We also have an office in Dallas. We are the leaders in the integration for robotic solutions, serving 32,000 customers worldwide. And we represent multiple industries, not only in education, but also hospitality, banking, retail, healthcare, etc. We have many partners throughout the years, and also have won awards throughout many educational platforms. Some Robot Lab accomplishments. We are the sole distributors of Now and Pepper robots in the North America and South America region. We're the creators of VR Expeditions 2.0, a replacement for Google Expeditions VR platform. We've also successfully installed AI Lab and esports labs at multiple educational locations within the US and around the world. So meet Now and Pepper robots. Now is the older version. It's a fully programmable bipedal robot. And then I also say Pepper is its younger cousin, which is the larger one, standing at about 3 or 4 feet. Also has a tablet on its chest. Some use cases that we have throughout the years. One was in Pinecrest School in Florida. They use it in a computer science class in a middle school setting. Students there are learning to program now to have conversations with guests touring the campus. Also, we have one in the Carnegie Science Center in Pennsylvania. Coordinator Clifton uses the robots as a tool to teach STEAM and is just using it for career readiness. Their favorite part about Now is that it gives the ability to work with elementary through high school students to teach programming. Another use case is in Lane Technical High School in Illinois, human-robot interaction in a special education classroom setting. So Now gives the flexibility in programming from Choreograph's built-in features, then processing into more advanced Python coding. So it just keeps the robot relevant in many grade levels. Then I'm going to pass it along to our partners, Bonnie and Erica. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. But before we go into that, Bonnie and Erica has some questions that they want for you guys to answer. So if you want to engage with them, please do so. And also, I forgot to tell you at the beginning of the webinar, don't be shy, ask your questions. If you have comments or opinions about Now, please feel free to write them. And we have the Q&A here. I'll be in charge to answer your questions if I can. And if not, Bonnie and Amy and Erica will be here to answer them for you all live. But let's just get started with the poll, okay? So please feel free to answer it if you have the time right now. We just want to, try to analyze a little bit the audience. So yeah, we see the yes is winning. We have people who actually have the Now Pepper robot, Barney and Erica. I don't know if you can see it. The majority of them, 90% of the people, yes, they do use it on the educational side. That's great. Thank you so much. So yeah, it's growing. The numbers are growing, which is good. So 69% of the people here, yes, they do a Now robot or a Pepper robot, and 89% of the people, yes, they do use it on an educational setting. So thank you so much for your participation. That being said, now definitely Bonnie and Erica, please just feel free to talk. You're gonna love this amazing company and software, so just go ahead.
Thank you, Maria. That is great that so many of you have a robot and using it in educational settings. Okay, so many people ask the question, what is Fundologic robotic superpower? So my reply to them is we pride ourselves on our ability to listen, observe, evaluate, design, develop, and deliver. So hello, my name is Bonnie Walker. With a passion for helping, I began my hunt for the best socially assistive robot that could be used in a classroom, elder care facility, and library setting. I found the Now Robots by Aldebaran, and so began this journey. Next slide. After receiving my first robot, I asked questions, lots of questions. I attended conferences and traveled to development classes from Nashville to Boston and then to Paris and back. I learned how humanoid robots can help children and people in the elder care arena. A recurring theme at the conferences that I attended was that the teachers wanted software that they could modify to fit the needs of the student they were working with or the classroom, and that had reliable student tracking for one-on-one activities. They also wanted activity songs and stories that could be used for rewards or just in classroom use. We've accomplished this. Next slide. Allow me to introduce you to our adaptable robotics enrichment software brought to you by Fundalogic Robotics, the ARIES project. Our solution maximizes your investment and minimizes your valuable time spent preparing your robotic teaching aid to best support your lesson plan and daily activities. Let your expertise and imagination create a fresh take for your activities using the Now and Pepper robots and the ARIES software. Next slide. The ARIES project is designed to reach participants with its wide range of disciplines and behaviors, bridging the gap for all learning spectrums and age groups as well. It provides an age of professionals. Our software product prepares the Now and Pepper robots to fit into any setting or situation, such as schools as a teaching resource for one-on-one classrooms or classroom use. It's a great team builder. He's a great team builder. Libraries through animated storytelling and activities such as Potato Head. Hospitals, making the hospital experience better for patients and their families. Elder care facilities, our goal is to enhance the lives of those in their later years, whether they need to just get moving around, play a rousing game of bingo, or want to have memories shared using our custom presentation behavior. Next slide. One of our first use cases was spending 18 months working with educators in resource centers, primarily with young children on the spectrum. These educators work closely with our team to develop behaviors that fit the needs and criteria needed to achieve results. We learned by listening, watching, and acting. The teachers gained trust and confidence, and the students learned and grew through the use of the behaviors in the ARIES project. Next slide. One day I got a call mid-afternoon that surprised me because I usually spoke to them in the morning. There was an administrator and 2 teachers on the call. You can imagine I was a little nervous. They wanted to share the progress of a student that was working on motor imitation skills, who for months would not participate at all. And then on this day, the student actually did the movements with the robot. It was a great day for all, big day. Everybody was happy and there were a lot of tears. By the end of the first school year, the students and teachers were all so excited to get to work with their Now robot that the students were giving little robot toys and drawings to their teachers. They passed them in the hall. This emotional attachment is important and real. Potato Head was a favorite activity for these students to do for their parents at the end of year showcase. Potato Head gamifies following directions and fine motor skills. And with our Potato, we have 3 levels to choose from. Next slide. Recently, I was pointed to a TED Talk that I watched. It's by Kate Darling, Why We Have an Emotional Connection to Robots. She says, we're far from developing robots that feel no emotions, but we already have feelings towards them. We witnessed this behavior with the students that we worked with just last week. One of the kids we worked with came up after the class. We'd already put Bebop away and we were kind of packed up, but she came in and she wanted to say goodnight and goodbye to Bebop. So we opened up the case and she comes over and she pats him on the head and gives him a cute little kiss on his forehead. Who could say no to that? Right? So there are many articles about humans and robots. How about the NASA Robots Spirit and Opportunity and the surprising effect they had on that team? Brian White stated, what we found was really interesting and surprising was how much these human beings projected their own human emotions onto these robots. Some of the engineers have a photo of them up on the refrigerator next to their own children, and that's how closely they feel to these robots. Spirit was just kind of feisty, he adds, whereas the opportunity just landed straight in front of awesome science and knocked it out of the park every day thereafter. Many, many years that lasted. I said that about our two nows, Pilot and Bebop. Pilot is always well behaved. However, Bebop always wants to be the center of attention, always wanting to do that. So now I'm going to turn it over to our educative director, Erica.
Thanks for being here with us today. Next slide, please. We all know that robots can be used for tech ed, and you can teach engineering and coding, but using them beyond that in just your regular classrooms to teach English and science and math, you can engage your students and enhance content as well as extend the lessons that you've got in those classrooms. Part of what makes using the Now and Pepper robots so effective, along with the Aries project, is the multimedia aspect. And yes, there are a lot of other tech tools out there that offer something similar. But like Bonnie was just talking about, that connection that we get with the robots adds an even greater impact. You don't typically see students coming in and waving or, high-fiving an iPad or a computer. Next slide, please. The robot is a tool. It's not a replacement for a teacher. It's not going to become a replacement for a teacher. As instructors, we choose the curriculum, the pace, and see what's going on with our students. And we can use the robots to enhance that. And you still want to use the right tool for the job and pick the best tool for the job. And the robots are capable of a lot of different tasks, and figuring out which ones work best in your classroom situation, again, is up for the experts to decide. And that's you guys. I also was talking about the multimedia aspect, which varies and enhances the learning process, which improves our knowledge retention. So by incorporating and integrating that verbal and visual content with the robots and the Aries software, then you're going to be hitting that differentiated learning that we need and really grab those students' attention and help them grasp those concepts even faster. Oh, I was acting like I was going to do the next slide, Amy, trying to take your job. Here we've got the Aries software. This is our student page. So when you come in, there's a couple of places that you can do some things that just basic things like putting the robot to rest, waking it up, sitting it down. In the creation station, that's where we've got all of our different behaviors. We've got activities, songs, and stories, which we do a lot. We have a lot of custom stories in there. Most of them are originals, but we do use some basic children's books. And so we're just going to walk through creating a close figurative language lesson. And so in here, we've chosen the custom presentation. I've added a title. I just copied and pasted something that I already had in my arsenal of tools for teaching. And I'm adding in a few directions. So just saying for the end, okay, now you're going to reread the story on your own and be prepared to answer any questions with a partner after. Okay, we're going to, there are the options of adding in breaks to touch a hand in between the paragraphs or to just play straight through. And in this case, we just want to play straight through. And what we're doing now is adding in what we want them to see, that multimedia component as well. Okay, so I added in a title, and now I'm adding in some images to go along with this story. So I've got the 3 different paragraphs, just going to add in the images that we want for each of those paragraphs. This one happens to be about going to a concert where they thought it was maybe going to get rained out, and then it didn't, and was really cool because at the end some fighter jets flew by, and that made an impact on them. Okay, and then at the end I just put the just the words that would show up on the screen, and that's it. I was able, then we send it to Bebop. He compiles anything that needs to be done, and you're ready to go and rock and roll. That whole process, especially when it's content that you already have in your, which, we have a plethora of things that we can pull from without having to create something new. is right there, and it takes less than a minute to prepare that. So the next thing that we're gonna, so you'd show this and you'd have the students read, but now I want to reinforce that figurative language. And so we're gonna do that by using another one of our behaviors in the ARI software, and that is our content reinforcement. And let's walk through what that looks like. Next slide. All right, so in this, we're going to start a fresh behavior. And this time we are going to choose concept reinforcement. In this one, you have a few options that you have to go through, and that's choosing like how many words or sentences or phrases that you might be adding. I gave it a title, figurative language, and then I picked the figurative language that was in the story that we were just looking at. And you can use this and make a bingo card if you want, or you can also just use your own tools and materials again, whether it's having the students verbally respond, or by chance you might decide that, okay, well, I've got this worksheet, let's use that, and so they can go through, and as he says each one, you can say that. Or it's bell work, right? While the kids have come in, you've got your other stuff that you need to do in the class, whether it's attendance or whatever it is that you've got at the beginning of your day. You can set the robot up and send them to work, and then that takes that off of your plate. We all know that as teachers, we wear a multitude of hats, from lecturer to tutor, and by using the robots, we really get a chance to focus on one thing at a time while all those other things are still happening. And so no two classrooms are the same. We all need things that are different. And, maybe it's a student in a particular classroom that may need a little extra help or whatever. And having the robot as a tool really gives you that opportunity to not have to be juggling so many things at once, right? I didn't go to school to be a juggler. I went to school to be a teacher, right? And I know that that's where you guys are at too. And it's really nice because we get the chance, especially like in this situation during the close reading, where you can go and be wandering through and really focused on your observation of what's happening in your classroom, and see where students are excelling or where there might be a gap. Like maybe they're really struggling with figuring out what the onomatopoeias are or something like that in this process. And so you can really keenly focus on what it is that's happening in your classroom, where you're not wearing those multiple hats all at once. If you wanted to continue, you could definitely have like some more extension of this by playing the bingo game or something along those lines as well. All right, let's look at the next slide. This is
creative and a chance to express feelings and ideas.
a poetry lesson that we did with some 7th graders.
Great poets are William Shakespeare. Let me compare thee to a summer's day. Robert Frost, 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And Emily Dickinson, hope is the thing with feathers.
This video was filmed. It was using the custom presentation that we talked about first, and we activated the touch hand. And so we just asked them to have a talk time. And so then in between, what you don't see is that we touched the hand and waited, and then the kids got a chance to chat about what it was that they were listening to.
Here is one about a robot, ready to help, obeying every command line, bringing smiles to users' faces, offering a chipper beep boop beep, tiny circuits sending signals. Now it's your turn. Try the word strong with your partner. Let's hear Shiloh and his partner's acrostic poem.
S for stable and calm. T, trustworthy and confident. R, resilient and regal. O, optimistic and courageous. N, nice and creative. G, gentle and graceful.
Thank you for sharing your strong poem.
All right, so in that poetry lesson, you know, the kids, they got a chance to interact with each other, and they also at the end had a chance to interact with the robot, where each student had to write their own poem based on the different styles that they were given, choices from that we had talked about. Bebop had made sure that they knew everything that they needed to know at that moment, to create their own version. And then at the end, they all get to come up and interact with the robot, where Bebop actually read their poem for them. But in between, one of the components that they were talking about is talking about couplets and quatrains. And so we stopped and did a rhyming bingo game, and that's what you're gonna see next. Then Bebop told them the instructions about, you know, this is rhyming bingo, and you need to find the word after I say it. Like if I say cat, then you're gonna find sat or chat on your sheet. Let's go ahead and just see a little bit of that on the next slide.
Hello. Today we are going to play bingo. B-I-N-G-O. My name is Bebop, and I'll be the caller. Let's get started. Find, sell, sell. Find, bird, bird.
Oh, bingo.
Look for.
So you can see with our bingo game, and this also works the same way with our concept reinforcement. Anything that you've got is for the in the list of whatever it is you're doing. You're gonna be able to see it up on the screen as well. And at the end, we give a list of all of the words or phrases or sentences, whatever it is that you put in there at that time is gonna show up as well. So you can see that. Now, I want to talk just a little bit about that group of students. It's a pretty small group, and they're actually homeschoolers. And within that group, we have several neurodivergent learners, including a couple with dyslexia. And so this exercise was actually fairly challenging for them to be able to have to go through and find a word that, you know, think through the process of the rhyming. And so having Bebop up there calling the bingo and not having to, you know, use a student helper or something along those lines, which is all good. Those are good options, but this is just one more where you're getting the students engaged in a different way. So you've got Bebop calling the words and focusing on what that needs to be with the visual aspect. And then I was able to go around and help those students that I knew needed a little bit of extra in the meantime. And it took that component off where I didn't necessarily feel like I had to have, again, those multiple hats. All right, next slide. So deeper learning really comes from curiosity, right? And exposure and previous knowledge. And we have different ways that we attack that, whether it's a KWL or whatever, but we got to prime the pump to get students excited about the lesson. And one of the little ways that we can include that in with the robots is by introducing them to something, but we've made it so that you have the opportunity to add that talk time in without it stopping and breaking everything or having to spend a bunch of time programming. And so we gave that, you saw a little bit of it in the poetry lesson. And so being able to integrate that talk time into our lessons is crucial to getting the students really engaged. The other thing that I like about our custom presentation behavior is that it allows the instructor to put in the words that they use every day. Every classroom kind of, you know, it has its own cadence. It has its own set of things that it uses on a regular basis, attention grabbers. So maybe in your classroom, you might say, you know, hocus pocus, everybody focus, or you might be a Scooby Dooby Doo, where are you? Whatever it is that you do in your classroom, you get to put that in that custom presentation and use it. And so it's going to make all of the kids and everybody really feel comfortable and natural and age appropriate too, because you know, I don't know, not everybody's gonna want to say Scooby Dooby Doo, where are you? But you know, and they might, it just might, that might be your thing, but you get to have fun with it. And maybe you know, you can create whatever it is. If you've got a great sense of humor and you like to joke, then you put those jokes in and Bebop will say it, you know, whatever it is that you've got going on. And so it really becomes a very natural feeling aspect to presenting with this robot. All right, next slide, please. So we have some brain breaks that are included in the Aries software that are about 30 seconds to a minute long, and they are, you know, across 3 different categories because you need different things for different times, right? And so in our physical category, we've got things like freeze dance, or you know, doing the wave, facial gymnastics, thank you. Facial gymnastics. And then in calming, a lot of breathing and mindfulness. And then in mental, tongue twisters, you know, some coordination kind of things, which crosses over into the physical, but is really taxing our brain. And we are going to just give you an example of what mindfulness looks like. And give me just a second and let me move over so you can see what that looks like with Bebop. Try not to make you too seasick. Yeah. All right. Can you see that okay?
Yes, Erika, that's good.
Thank you.
Let's take some time for practicing mindfulness. Practice mindfulness while the music is playing. Let's play. Self-talk. Think of something you like about yourself. Now give yourself a compliment. Repeat 2 more times. Thanks for practicing mindfulness with me today. Remember, learning is a lifelong journey. See you next time.
So in our brain breaks, most of them have multiple pieces to them. So you're not going to get the same thing every time. And so the next thing we want to show you while I'm over here with Bebop is a little excerpt from one of our stories that we have, our pre-made original stories. Stand still. Our HDMI cable is blinking just a little bit, so I'm hoping that it's
Hello, my name is Bebop, and I would like to share an excerpt from Cooper's Woods, a 4-chapter story. Chapter 1, The Stream. I hope you enjoy this excerpt. The cool water of the creek splashed and bubbled as Cooper sunk his feet into the inches-high flow. The calming sound of running water around him sang like a familiar old record, endlessly playing alongside a backdrop of breeze and bird song. It was only a couple hundred feet of forest between two subdivisions, but to Cooper it was a paradise. He had spent countless hours cooling off in the hot days of summer, enjoying the stream's icy touch. The stout, outstretched boughs of oak and beech trees provided bountiful shade and rigid trunks on which to rest. If he stayed still and quiet for long enough, Cooper would even catch glimpses of the busy wildlife of the area. The odd squirrel or opossum would pass through, rustling their way through the soft bed of leaves that coated the ground in search of food. Sometimes Cooper would bring his sketchbook along, drawing whatever struck his eye right in the warm afternoon light. Other times he would bring a book, choosing a natural alcove to his stuffy room. But today was like most other days, as Cooper simply came to the stream to rest and let the piece of the wood uncover him like a soothing quilt. Skipping ahead in the story, Cooper awakes into an altered reality. There, partially concealed by the flora around it, stood what resembled a small person, save for a few inhuman features. It stood only a foot tall and bore a long tail that bushed between slender yet powerful legs. The odd little fellow was clad in a woven grass tunic with a belted rope around its thin waist. Cooper looked the figure up and down, trying to make heads or tails of what exactly it was. Eventually, he glanced directly at its face, locking eyes with it. There, mirrored back at him was a similarly curious expression. The creature was sizing him up as well. Their gaze held for a moment before the little person spun on a dime and darted off into the grass. Remember, learning is a lifelong journey.
Okay. Thanks, Bebop. So our customs, our original stories. A lot of them we have comprehension questions also after them. And so they will ask, questions about the story and whatnot. And so we've got a couple of examples of what that looks like. And even so, sorry, as Amy's kind of getting set back up here.
Amy, can you, sorry, Erica, to interrupt you, can you change the display settings to duplicate so everybody can see the presentation, please? Yes, you were good. Yep.
Most of our stories are original stories, but we do have several that are, favorite children's books like Brown Bear, and things like that. And even within those, we've got lots of custom sounds and animations that really help to engage the students. And so in this clip, which you may need to, will it let you play it? This is, if you go back a slide and go forward, I think it might. There we go. And so in this clip, we've got just Pepper asking some questions about our story, The Purple Pumpkin. And so she reads the question and says, in what season did Priscilla go and pick the pumpkin? And then reads all of the questions, you know, summer, winter, spring, and fall. And it, depending on what they answer, you're either going to get a little fun, in which in this case he said, and super cute, you did great, and then there are some open-ended questions in there as well. And if they don't get the question correct, then it's going to be a positive reinforcement, kind of thanks for trying, we really appreciate it, and then generally we'll tell you what the answer is. In this particular example, we've got we just finished reading City Shapes by Diana Murray. And so there was then the questions were set up as a four corners style. In the room, there were different shapes up on the wall. And so then Bebop said, in this particular one, said, the shape that I see is green. And so then they had to identify in the picture what the shape was. And then he said, it's time to groove, you can move. And then the kids would go to the different shape on the wall. And there were several images for them to go through that with. And so you can, like I said, a lot of our original stories, and even some of the, written stories, we've got comprehension questions with them. But if you've got your own book and you've got your own set of comprehension questions, you can put those in either one of the two places that we talked about today earlier. You can either use that custom presentation to put in comprehension and just do a hand touch in between if you need time to let the kids answer it, if it's more of an open-ended question, or if it's just a quick, answer something, you could use the content reinforcement to do that. So the next thing that we're going to look at, and before we go there, I just want to kind of set it up just a little bit, is we're still in the shape lesson that these early elementary kids were doing. So they had read the book, they got to do the comprehension questions. And then the next thing that we did was our vocabulary behavior. And this is really kind of where we started the whole Aries project was in the resource room with this behavior. And it lets you go through and pick exactly what words you want to be used is in the vocabulary, and then you're going to see the kids showing the card with the picture on that. And so we'll go ahead and you can go ahead and go to the next slide now.
You showed Pentagon. Pretty impressive.
And so this is, again, just a really small little group. And at the end, if they get it right, again, he does a little fun. He's like, oh yeah, impressive, woohoo. And there's one where he beats the drum and like kind of rocks out and really keeps it fun for them. Like I said, this is where we started this whole project, and it was centered around nonverbal students on the spectrum. And the students were ready to help and do it. But it translates so well to anybody that you could use it in all kinds of different situations. And it really it encourages that listening and participation and getting that active learning into it. Now, one of the ways that I could really see using the vocabulary, or even, one of the other things like we were just talking about, putting like a list inside of the concept reinforcement, would be to put it into either learning centers or a learning station. And I think it could work in either of those situations, where you might have the students working as a group or one-on-one, and really getting that feedback of them going through and working with the robot. And you don't have to use the cards to do everything. You might be able to use something like a little sandbox or one of the gel mats. And as Bebop called a shape, they could draw it in the sandbox or on the gel mat, if those early elementary students. But I'm sure that you could come up with lots of different ways to do that in with older kids as well. The flexibility that the program gives you is really, it's that you can use the resources and content that you have already in your room and implement it without having to spend a lot of time programming. That's the crux of what we do. And it's really, the sky is the limit. It's your creativity and your content that you get to put in and making it work for you. And so with that, I do want to have, let us talk a little bit about what other resources come with the ARIES program. And Bonnie's going to tell you a little bit about that.
Thank you, Erica. Before Bonnie, you speak, I received some feedback from the people, so they cannot see you because you're muted. So I don't know if maybe you can move where Erica is so they can see you, and then, they can get to know you. Thank you, Bonnie.
I can do that.
Thank you. And that's Bonnie.
That's funny. Oh, they couldn't see me. Okay. Hello, everybody. Okay, so go ahead and go to the next slide, Amy, please. Oh, this one. Yep, we're on it. Manipulatives. We include in the ARIES project, after working with the people we've worked with, we decided we always were going to include manipulatives, but this is part of our pack. We've got some of the stories we talked about. If we have a story that's a public story, that has a book about it, we buy the book, we buy everything for it, and that comes with our story, and our story shows page turns and such. So we've got the Foot Book, Brown Bear, Frog and Toad, Drum City. We have a plethora of cards. We spent a lot of time working on our vocabulary cards. So you saw those a few minutes ago that work with the robots. And so we've got those, we've got Potato Head, we've got the software. There's just a lot of manipulatives that can be used with that stuff. So, and they all come with the project. Can you go ahead and go to the next slide, Amy, please? Here are a couple of catalogs. We have catalogs showing all of our behaviors, and it changes so drastically. I remember when we first started, we had 5, and we were trying to think, how do we make it look fat? Now we have so many that we can't get them on the page, which is great. But we have them broken out by pre-KK, 1st to 3rd, 4th through 6th, libraries, and elder care. And there's just so many options in there, depending on whether you're in a resource room, a library, a general classroom. They work in all of them, and we've kind of divvied them up a little bit so people can see a little bit more things that are appropriate to them, but everything comes with it. Okay, go ahead and go to the next slide. And lastly, but most importantly, your privacy and your students' privacy is extremely important to us. We take great care in following HIPAA guidelines. We're both HIPAA certified. Anything that we do, we take great care in information being sent to the robot, being stored, how it's transmitted through our software. So we have taken great care on that, and just want to note how important that is to us. Thank you. I'm going to move back. Oh, I'll just stay here. We'll just stay together.
We'll just stay together. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
There we
that's
go.
great.
We got us both.
Perfect. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Erica and Bonnie, and obviously Amy. And we do have a lot of questions. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read them to you guys, and please feel free, all right?
Okay.
So number 1 question, we have Herman Hilke. I'm sorry if I said your name incorrectly. Are they wireless? He's asking for the robot. I see what wire. Why is there now wireless?
It isn't, we're using Wi-Fi, yes.
So
Okay.
the cord that you're seeing is just his power cord.
Yeah.
And he did not need to be plugged in, but we just didn't unplug him because we just didn't.
We just didn't. We
Yeah.
moved around a
But
bunch,
he doesn't, yeah, his battery lasts for quite a while. And Amy, you might have some more information that you want to share with this as well. But yeah, you don't have to have him plugged in. He is wireless. You can plug him in both ways though.
Yes.
Yeah, there's also options available to have a docking station for the Now, so that extends the amount of battery life. Rather than now having to stand up the whole time, it'll allow it to sit down and still participate in tell a story, etc.
Thank you, ladies. It's still from Herman. How much assembly and what code is used?
For us.
Yes, if you want
in
to
the
answer it,
Harris
it's related to the Now robot. Like, how much does it take to get assembled, and if you are using a specific code with the software?
Thankfully, he comes fully assembled.
Yeah, there's no assembly required. Yeah. The code we use a lot of different codes in our software, but primarily we're Python users. We're big Python users. So
Yeah, well,
is that what you're talking about? Are you talking about something else?
My guess is that they may not, they doesn't sound like they have a robot. And so Bonnie likes to tell the story about when she bought her first Now robot, and it was Elad.
Yeah, actually, I bought it from Robot Lab.
Yeah.
It was December 31st, 2014. I know everything about it because as soon as I found them, I knew that's the robot I wanted to work with. And so I bought it that day. And they kept telling me at Robot Lab, now, Bonnie, remember when you get the robot, get it out of the box, it's not going to do anything. It's like, oh, sure, whatever. Okay. And then they tell me again, Bonnie, remember when you get out of the box, it's not going to really do anything. Okay. So I get out of the box, and I'd forgotten that they said it really doesn't do anything because I was so excited to get it. And I get the little robot out, and I'm standing there, and autonomous life was turned on by default, which I didn't really know all of that yet because I hadn't done the traveling that you saw me do that I talked about earlier. And I'd done so much research on it, but I had just knew it was the right robot for me. So I'm standing there, the little robot, as I'm talking, starts inching its way over to me. So my husband picks him up and moves him back, and I'm yabbering away again. As you can tell, I like to talk a lot. And pretty soon that little robot's just kind of moving over to me. Well, emotionally, I was 150% sold, never looked back.
Yeah.
But when it came to the part about the robot not doing anything else, they meant it.
Yeah.
They're really designed to build. There's so many capabilities, and there's these there's all kinds of things that are downloaded.
Right. At that point,
going.
we hadn't downloaded the channel or done it. We
Yeah.
hadn't done anything. So straight out of the box, there is some install that you have to do, just some basic setup.
But it's software.
And it's software,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the Aries project, it really makes it that super simple where you just literally, it's like texting or sending an email. You put them, you put your text in, and then it does its little stuff in the background and makes the robot do what you want it to do.
Thank you. We have another one for Martha. Martha's saying that she got an 803 error on the robot. Martha, I'm going to ask if you can please send an email to support@robolab.com. We want to find out why when you try to turn it on and off, it's not working for you. So please go ahead and shoot an email to support@robolab.com. We will be more than happy to help you with that, okay? We have another question here. Susan, looking for online training. We have 2 robots and haven't used because of software problems and training. Amy?
So yeah, that's another question I think for support. If you email support@robotlab.com, set up your 1-hour online training if you purchased it from Robot Lab. Otherwise, we could arrange for an online training through purchasing. So just reach out to our support team, support@robotlab.com, and we can get you taken care of.
Yes, we'll give you your online training as soon as possible. We have another one from Abdul. Hello, I have a Now robot. I want to teach students with the help of Now, but I do not have enough lessons. Erica, Bunny?
I'm going to just start it, but I'm going to turn it back over to Erica. We have lots of lessons that can work, and I'm hoping that you saw some of that through what Erica was describing. Go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the things that we offer inside of our Aries software is actually a lesson plan library. So like I've got set, I'm slowly and diligently adding lessons that take about anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes for the most part, that are kind of a complete lesson plan of things that you can use with the robot. But it's there. That's partially why we created the Aries software, was the direction that we needed to go, was that, you know, you probably have lessons in general that you have ready. And so it's just a matter of transferring it to the robot. And so using those different tools that we have inside of our software gives you the opportunity to not be spending hours on developing a behavior.
We also,
Yeah,
I was gonna add one quick thing. We didn't get to show very much. I mean, there just wasn't enough time to show it, all of it. Inside of our bingo concept reinforcement type things, there's actually tons of pre-made ask answers. And if once you see them, then you'll know how to create your own if you want your own other than what we have, or you can send it to us and we'll add it. But it's super simple to add. We've got tons of bingo games, we've got math games, we've got science games. There's a lot of stuff, and that's just one little section of the project. So,
And also picture, we have the
picture bingo.
Yeah, for the littler kids as well.
Yeah, so this is all available through Robot Lab and Fundalogic. So if you already own it now and you're looking to enhance what it's doing, you don't have the time to do the programming. This is why Aries project and where it comes into play is you can utilize your existing robot, purchase the Mac laptop preloaded with everything included, and then also get an hour of training from Bonnie and Erica. That's all included in this package. So if you're interested, you already have it now. There's options for the software only, including the laptop. Otherwise, if you're interested in the robot bundle with the package, Aries project package, that's available as well.
Perfect. We have another question. Susan is asking, is Aries replacing Choreograph?
Oh, no. Choreograph has its own tools that you need, and we use them to begin our stuff. We write a lot of our code in Python, and we do all of our work outside of it, but we use Choreograph extensively, and it would be part of it. So you don't need to use it with our project, but you can use it for other things. And we think that it's a tool that if you like it, just keep using it. No, they work side by side.
Okay. Jen is asking, does the Aries platform come with the Now robot, or is it a separate purchase? Amy, I think you just said that they can purchase the bundle if they want to. You can have the robot as well, and also the Fundalogic software. So please go ahead to robolab.com, go to our K-12 store, and please feel free to find all the products we have for you. But yeah, you can have it as in bundle as well. Herman is asking, we are a public school in a Title I area. Price is very important. Amy?
So there's a lot of grants available, funding opportunities for STEM and technology. If you have separate questions, feel free to email me and I can send you a link to those options for you. As you know, tech and STEAM is a huge topic in schools. So if you need those funding assistance, there are options out there by state, nationally, etc.
Perfect. Marta is asking, what is the software you use to program the Now? We're using Choreograph, but it seems very difficult for kids to program. So Bonnie and Erica is just the Aries software, I believe.
Right. Yeah, we use we write in Python, but I don't know. It depends on what your kids are trying to do.
So right. I mean, the software that we provide is really not necessary. It's for the instructor. It's not for the kids on that side of it. And yeah, but
on the Choreograph site, yeah, I don't know what age student you're talking about. Did you say that in the question?
No, she just said it was a little bit complicated. But Martha, if you have more questions about it, don't worry. Please feel free to reach out to us and we'll help you and we'll guide you through it.
Right.
We have another question from Cyril. We have a lot of questions still. So hello, for DYS children or autistic children, do you have a recommendation on Now's voice, speech, and speed? Sorry.
Yes, so we actually worked a lot on this, and we generally lower our speed down somewhere, but depending on the activity or what's being said, between 65 and 75. And then on the voice, we also have a tendency to just bring down the pitch just a little bit, so that it's a little more calming. And we found that that is what the students responded best to.
Okay, we have another question from Cyril. Similarly, characters police on pepper screen.
Say that one more time, please.
Similarly, characters police on pepper screen. Like, do we have the same for pepper, Robert?
Oh, we do.
yes.
Yes, everything. We actually start programming with Pepper and then we do the now. So we kind of, whatever, if there's one-on-one, it's on all of them. Everybody gets the same behaviors.
Perfect. We have anonymous question. Do you have some tips to make girls spontaneously more concerned by now robotic workshop, or aim is girl boy equality toward digital? She said that the anonymous person said tomorrow they have a workshop with 100% boys. So do you have an advice on how to, engage more girls into that type of projects?
Boy, that's a long conversation. This is one of my passions is
Sorry.
getting as many people involved. And one of my backgrounds is I worked with Yamaha. I wrote a program called Yamaha Rock School, and that was getting kids involved in music. Okay, so I'd taken the same concept. Let's talk about robotics and STEM and STEAM. It takes a lot of personality types and a lot of skill sets. And I think people get scared off a little bit by some of those skill sets that they, well, I'm not really that great on math, or I'm not that great, but I'm a great storyteller. I'm a great producer. I can really put the whole project together, and they can learn some of the coding techniques. So ways of getting them involved, I think, would be by letting them know that you don't have to be the engineer of all engineers to be involved in this. Come over and join it. Find your place in the robotics industry. There's so many wonderful things that we can do in robotics. It takes all of us. It takes story writers and coders and imaginations and choreographers and all kinds of people to make these type things, these robots do what they can do to make them beneficial to the people we're trying to help.
That's a great advice, Bonnie. Thank you so much. Janet is asking, is there a specific version of the Now robot required to use the behaviors?
Most of our stuff has been, we don't, 5, 6 is really it. We prefer 6 robot, but we also work with 5s. So, and then Pepper, of course.
Okay. Mini is asking, is there any voice recognition and face recognition features to recognize the students uniquely?
That is definitely part of the Now curriculum. We use it a little bit. We have not used it a lot yet. It's probably part of our next iteration, our next version that we're doing to see where that works. When you're working on one-on-one, of course, that's certainly easier to deal with, as Amy knows, and you probably know, just when we're working with the robots. So we have had, because of the other behaviors we've been writing, it really hasn't been a big thing for them to recognize them. Sometimes we're working with nonverbal students and they're not speaking, so they don't hear, but to recognize them, it's kind of a cross mix. But yes, the robots are capable of doing that.
Perfect. Stefan is asking, please, Amy, could you say a little more about the docking station? What's the program for Now V6 to use it? How can they use the docking station?
The docking station is basically a glorified charger, but it allows I believe the runtime on a Now just from full charge is about 90 minutes. But the docking station actually allows for the robot to sit down and not use its motors while it's, telling a story, etc., and charging at the same time. So it just kind of extends the life of the battery.
All right. Nancy is asking, sorry, Eric is asking, is the ARIS project available in French?
Right now it is English speaking. We have the capability built into the program to do other languages. We have not turned all that on yet. Primarily English.
So it's a development probably, right?
It's a development piece.
development.
It's a development.
If we know that there's a need for it, then we're
on it.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, and we have 1 more minute to finish this webinar, so I'm just going to pick one of the questions, and then please feel free to send questions. I'm going to put here their emails to Amy, Vonnie, and Erica, so please feel free to reach out if you have questions. But one more last questions, and then I think we'll be good. The question is, does the ARIS project work only with iOS on only Mac laptop, or how can you use it?
We put it on a Mac. It's the software. We can use it on a Windows box. We'd like it to be a dedicated box, and it's certainly a conversation. If you're interested, reach out to Amy, and Amy will reach to us, and we can talk about see what you have going in there. We
I'm
use
so
it on
sorry
both.
I'm so sorry. We have still like 12 questions, but I know we're running out of time. So please feel free to send their emails. The emails will be happy to answer you. Bonnie, Erica, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction to your program and everything. Amy, of course, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you guys for being part of this amazing webinar. Please stay tuned. We have more webinars coming soon. Stay tuned to your email. And again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to email us. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.